friends. Welcome back to the Wild Rose podcast. I'm Whitney Rose.
I'm Connie Daniels.
And today we have a very special, amazing, talented, smart, beautiful guest, Margot. Thank you for coming today, Margot.
I'm so excited.
It's not Margaret. It's Margot.
It's Margot. And I feel like you should say, welcome to the Wild Wild West. Because that's what like this feels like in here. It's like kind of wild. I love it.
It is a very wild room. It fits the theme. Huh?
Yeah, like very, it's good.
I actually thought to throw people off, I should hang that pineapple upside down.
1,000%. She has a Coco Chanel pineapple art piece. The fact that it's not already upside down is just disappointing.
I know. But
Let's fix that right now.
Yeah.
Do you want me to hurry and do it?
Hurry and flip it upside down. Well, thank you so much for coming today. Margot is really well known here in Utah. She's a badass. And you have your own podcast, right?
I do. It's called Currently Unwell, which is kind of like, I feel like it's just like ever since the pandemic, everyone's been like a little currently unwell. And so I started the podcast kind of with that in mind, just that I love wellness in the space, but I also am a little unwell and realizing like I'm not the expert, but I want to explore all of those topics. And that's kind of where the idea came from.
It's amazing.
I love
And
that.
yeah, like seriously, since 2020, I don't think anyone's been well.
No,
We
how
were just
could you
talking
be?
about that yesterday.
It's like a hard reset, I think,
Yeah.
for all of us. But we're trying to figure out what is that reset? Because, you know what I mean? Like in some ways it was like, oh, wait, everything came to a standstill. Now what? Like,
It
where do I
almost
shift?
was like the Great Reset. Everybody just kind of like leveled everybody. And I feel like the beauty in that is that like you had to start over. You had to reinvent yourself. And it was a little painful.
Or a lot.
a lot of
Maybe
painful.
not for you guys,
No,
but it was
I-
really painful.
I feel like I still have whiplash. Like I'm still recovering. And this year, we were talking about this the other day, just like how heavy it's been still.
Yeah.
Like everything, it just feels heavy.
The weird thing is obviously it's 2023 now. Do you guys feel like 2020 was last year? Because I do. And now we're at 2023. And I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, like everything seems like a blur.
Yeah,
It went fast.
You're so right. It was like March to June of 2020 felt like time stopped. Like it was the longest couple of months for me personally. But now it's all like, it feels like one continuous year.
Yes. I totally agree with you. As you're saying this, I'm like thinking through the timeline and it feels like a vortex. It just doesn't feel real. And it's weird how time can do that.
Maybe we're in the eye of the vortex right now.
You're so right.
And maybe that's why it fast forward to 2023, but really we're still in 2020.
I know. It's interesting because I was thinking about this the other night, how time is really an illusion. And what does the year mean anyway? And also, what does this time on Earth mean versus like is this the dream? And then like the rest of our existence is the real stuff? I don't know.
I know.
We're getting deep here, guys.
I know,
We're just
I
like
love
going
it.
in.
I don't know about you guys, but there were so many times during the pandemic, I had the time of my life. I know that's very odd, but sometimes I wish time
you're
would stop.
lucky.
I wish sometimes, but my kids
That's
were a little
Connie.
older. My kids were a little older and like we had, I don't know, I'm probably get judged for this, but we had a few of our friends that we kind of kept this tight knit circle because we are so social. We're like, no, I will probably die inside if I don't have a few friends around me. So we would
You
stick
had, like, a
together.
cluster.
Yeah. So we called it like Therapy Thursday and be like, everyone at my house, we're having therapy. And we just like listen to music, hang out, drink, and like nobody would have to work the next day. So we just kept our little cluster of friends and kind of secretly went around. We had so much fun. We felt like a bunch of kids like sneaking around our parents or something, you know? Like,
That's
and sometimes
By
I
the
wish
way,
I could have
wasn't
that.
invited to that.
Rude.
Well, Whitney, we knew you were keeping the rules over here.
Well, I had a COVID baby. Yeah.
Oh, like got pregnant during?
Yeah, I had a
Oh.
baby 12/12/2020.
Wait, how many babies were
12,
born?
2020.
Yeah. So at the end of
Yeah.
2020.
Oh, wow.
so
you were
having fun during
Yeah.
when no one could work or do anything. You were having some fun
But then
with your husband.
the emotional like side of being pregnant and being isolated.
Oh, I felt like
Wow.
I feel like if somebody had done a time lapse of my life, it would have been like bed, couch, kitchen, bed, couch, you know, like just like this is like in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I would leave and I did Pilates like the whole time as like my sanity. They made me wear a mask and I'd just be laying there like, I can't breathe.
So did you have your baby in a hospital?
Yeah.
So were you alone when you delivered?
No, my husband was allowed to be there, but it was like no other guests. He had to check in with me. He couldn't leave. So that was interesting. And they had me in a mask. And finally I just took it off and somebody asked where my mask was. And I was like, sorry, what did you say? And then they just looked at me and I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. I am not laboring with a mask on.
Oh.
I'm like, you guys can wear a mask. I'm like, I got COVID tested. I don't have COVID. Like, I'm not wearing a mask.
Can
Wow.
you imagine going through labor with a mask?
No.
I
mean, you did it.
hyperventilation.
I'm like, Connie, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, the first 4 hours I wore the mask and then I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Wow.
Oh, you are a badass. So tell us, we kind of just jumped into like, you know, very universal time lapse. But that's why
Quantum physics.
Yeah, that's why we wanted you to come on, because it just says who you are. You're very smart, a deep thinker, very creative. I mean, from what I know of you, I really like. So, but tell us about yourself.
Okay.
So you have how many kids?
I have 2 kids. I actually was born in New York City. My parents lived there for 6 weeks and then we moved to Thailand. So I grew up in Thailand till I was almost 8 and then we moved back to Utah. My dad's from here. And so I think actually it was such a cool way to grow up, and moving back to Utah was a complete culture shock for me. I was just like, there are so many white people. I didn't even know what to do with myself. My kindergarten class was like a little mini UN, like kid from India, Muslim, every religion, Buddhist.
In Thailand?
Yeah. You know, because a lot of the kids I went to school with, like their parents were from all over the world and they were just going to school in Thailand. And it was so weird. I just remember being like, everyone speaks English. Everyone is white. I like still spoke Thai at the time. I've like lost it all, which is so sad. But I just remember being like, oh, and the snow, and it was so crazy. But then
What was your dad doing in Thailand?
So he was one of the first Americans back into Vietnam after the Vietnam War. And he negotiated visas there were all these children there whose dads were U.S. servicemen and moms were women there. And the U.S. government was like very hesitant and saying like, these are not our kids. And my dad, through like an NGO, was like, no, these are our kids, helped find them homes. And, you know, he still has a relationship with a few of them, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Connie, do you ever get sick and search your symptoms online?
Yes, all the time. Sometimes I go down this TikTok rabbit hole from all these so-called experts.
Well, I'm glad to tell you that you don't need to listen to those so-called experts on TikTok anymore, thanks to ZocDoc.
Oh, that's amazing.
There are better ways to get the answers you want and the care you deserve from trusted professionals, and not just random people on the internet or TikTok.
ZocDoc helps you find expert doctors and medical professionals that specialize in the care that you need and deliver the type of experience that you want.
ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun.
No more doctor roulette and scouring the internet for questionable reviews. With ZocDoc, you have a trusted guide to connect you to your favorite doctors that you haven't met yet.
Millions of people use ZocDoc's free app to find and book a doctor in their neighborhood who is patient-reviewed and fits their needs and schedule just right.
Go to ZocDoc.com/wildrose and download the ZocDoc app for free. And then book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours.
That's ZocDoc.com/wildrose. ZocDoc.com/wildrose.
So that was the first time he lived there. And then I was not born yet. And then he got his graduate degree and then went back and worked at an international school. So
Very cool. Whitney just came back. Well, not just came back, but she got to go to Thailand to film for Real Housewives.
I saw that. I'm so jealous. Did you love it?
I loved it. Like,
where did you film?
In Phuket.
Okay.
Yeah, we stayed. I was there for 2 weeks, and I tell you, it was a life changer for me. Just the experience. When I traveled there alone. Yeah. And it was just like a journey. Like
it's a trek.
Yeah.
First of all.
And being alone as a woman, like I was, I'm pretty sheltered still.
Did you feel safe there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the one thing I love about Thailand is like, even if you don't know the language, people are so nice and super helpful. There's a lot of stuff in English, and I've gone back a few times and I've always felt like really
Where did
safe.
you live?
So when I was really little, we lived right in Bangkok, and then we moved out to like a suburb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to spend any time there. I stayed in Phuket, but I would get in Ubers by myself, go into the city. I broke a nail. I had to get a nail fixed. No English. Like, I couldn't speak the language, but people were helping me. They were helping me figure out where I needed to go. The
I think
Uber
their
driver
motto is
waited
like land
for
of
me.
Oh, that's so cute.
He was like, "I'll just wait for you and take you back."
That's so sweet.
Yeah. You
They're
don't
just
get that
really
here.
nice people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So were your parents LDS?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the ties to Utah?
Yes. So grew up in that, and just from a really young age, I think partly because I grew up in Thailand and I had that church experience in Thailand, and then I came here and had such an opposite experience. I was kind of like, whoa. Like in Thailand, it's very much like family. It's a bunch of expats mostly, which that means like expatriate, which is like you're a U.S. citizen living in another country. And I just like the complete opposite of like when I came here, and my church ward was so cliquey, and like they grew up together and they weren't going to include me because I was different and weird. And I lived in, this girl would always be like, "Oh, you just lived in Taiwan." And I'm like, "No, I didn't live in Taiwan." So it was just like a very odd dynamic.
So you got excluded even though you were Mormon, but you were different still.
I was a weirdo.
Yeah.
Well, I was a weirdo.
Yeah.
I still totally am a weirdo. So
I love weirdos.
I don't know.
I just think you're normal.
Yeah.
Like you're just who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not
I'm not like a cookie cutter.
Yeah. Like the carbon copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of that in Utah.
Yeah.
And everyone really likes to be just like each other.
Can you imagine if we all met in elementary or like junior high? Like if we knew each other, because we were all kind of the weirdos. Even though I like was Molly Mormon.
Yeah.
I still was like different.
Yeah.
Like I just thought differently.
I did too. I've always thought like it's okay. So it's interesting now because I have 2 kids now, and
How old are your kids now?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. So little
Little
ones.
I'm in it.
You
I'm
are in it.
So my 4-year-old is very connected to the other side, and she has started explaining things to me. And there are certain pieces that she explains to me, and I'm like, oh, like maybe the LDS Church is right about a few things,
Like what?
Like
what was she sharing?
So she's told me. Oh, so I had a friend pass away, and I was upset about it actually during COVID. And she was like, "Oh, you don't have to be sad, Mom. He's all around us. It's just that you can't see him. Like it's just basically."
And she's 4 explaining this?
She was 3 at the time.
Oh my gosh, it's giving me chills.
So she just was like, "You don't have to be sad. He's all around us." And from what I understand, like the LDS Church kind of believes that it's not necessarily a different place. It might just be a different dimension.
Yeah, like the spirit world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's told me that like, we knew each other before. She actually told me that in like another life, like we were sisters and not mom and daughter.
Wow, so she is like clairvoyant. Like she might be like have some psychic, like her third eye is open.
Oh, every day. It's like wild. I could literally probably tell you an hour-long podcast of like things the other day we were playing sequence and she goes, well, all of my angels are on my team, but like, do you want one of them on your team? Oh. And I said, sure. And I go, she has names for them and
I want to meet her.
She's cool.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that how little, and I believe that like we are closer when we're younger because like it's more fresh for us, like wherever we came from. I feel like is where we're going to kind of go back to.
Yeah.
And so it's more fresh the younger you are. But the fact that she's able to explain this to you and you're creating a safe place for her to not feel like, oh,
it's weird.
To question herself. Like it sounds like you're accepting this and like listening and giving her that like space that she can say these things to you. That's like huge. Because I think a lot of parents brush this gift off and, oh my gosh, my kid is like, has such an imagination or, you know what I mean? Like they just kind of brush it off as.
Well, and she's like aligning with like a lot of like you said, like the things we grew up with, like with Mormon thought or what they teach.
Which is
but
weird
also, like,
because she doesn't have the language. Like I've never given her the language to explain it like that because I don't take her to church. But I'm like, oh, I don't necessarily think. How do I say this? For me, religion doesn't work, but there are pieces where I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Because we had on one of our Reiki energy healers, and she talks about how we all have, like not guardian angels. What are they called? Spirit guides.
Yeah.
So she's like, Mom, you want to borrow some of my spirit guides?
Yeah. She's like, just for the game, and then you got to give her back.
She's like right along with what like everything I'm learning about spirituality.
Yeah. It's crazy. My husband and I both went and saw energy workers separately, different ones. And they both said, your daughter's very connected, but just wait for your son.
Oh, wow.
And both of us are like, well, what do you do with that? Right? Like she's already like hyper. And in our house, it's kind of like, you want to talk about it? Great. The door's always open. I try not to pry or I try not to like force anything because I want it to be on her own. So we just moved into a new house. There was a wedding picture and my husband's grandpa married us. And we haven't really mentioned him or talked about him much just because it hasn't come up. So we move into the house. The picture is sitting on the floor and my 2-year-old grabs it and it's glass. So I'm like, whoa, 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 buddy. He drags it over to my husband and he's like, Daddy, Mommy. And then he looks at my husband, gives him like this wild grin and goes, Grandpa Garth. And we both started sobbing, just sobbing. It's his favorite picture. He talks about Grandpa Garth all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
And you had never taught him who Grandpa Garth is.
I'd never shown him the picture before.
I mean, he's 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's 2. Wow.
So I think if anything, I kind of left the church, not with any fanfare. I was lucky. I felt like it wasn't like traumatizing to me. I just was like, you know what? I'm good. And then having 2 kids be super connected, I'm like, oh, I need to explore this more for myself. And I also realized, like, looking back, I shut down my gifts because within organized religion, at least for me, it was always kind of like, no. Like, you don't know that. You don't know this, you know? And I just realized like, oh, I actually was getting messages all the time. I just was not allowed to. And not because anyone shut me down, but I just kind of had the sense like, no, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, well, we were taught that you don't explore that there's people with gifts are deceiving. Like they're like, sorry, my brain is
there
not
is a
working
word
today.
for
like,
it they use.
It's deception from the devil.
Yes.
It can be.
It
That's
can
what they're
be,
like, you have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
And honestly, I do think you have to be careful because people are getting their own interpretation of what they're feeling or seeing. And so in that sense, I think you have to be careful. I don't think it's all it's necessarily it's not an evil thing.
Yeah. Well,
It's
like
just-
anything, there's good and bad, right? There's positive and negative energies, positive and negative spirits.
Right.
I mean, I've definitely been to my fair share of like kooks because I love the space and I'll just like go do anything.
Connie and I are the same way.
Yeah. So I'll like try anything once. You guys better invite me next time we go do something fun. But I do think you kind of realize, kind of like in anything in life, the internet, it can be used for so much good. It can be used for so much bad. Spirituality, church, every single aspect has like a flip side. And that's kind of like this experience.
Mm-hmm. So your kids are young, but how are you like talking to them about that? Like, how are you parenting them through their own like spiritual gifts? And I mean, you're not like teaching religion.
Yeah.
So like, have you thought, I know they're kind of young, but I'm sure you've thought about like, what are you going to do? Because like we talk about that a lot as a family. Like my kids don't go to church, but we talk about being a good person. We talk about that God, like you don't have to go to church to have God or higher power or universe in your life, right? Whatever you talk about.
I mean, I think I'm still figuring that out. I definitely don't know because I do think what religion provides in a lot of ways is like a structure in which you talk about it every week. And so I don't know. I just try to keep like my door open as far as like being able to talk about it. And I'll ask her questions and sometimes she's really receptive and sometimes she's not. And it's weird because I can see her flip back into like 4-year-old Nora or this other like very wise being. Like once I was making her waffles in the morning and my grandma Ann used to put like raspberry jam and whipped cream on them. And I go, oh, this is how my grandma made them. And she goes, oh yeah, Grandma Ann, she's the one that brought me to earth. She loves bringing babies to earth.
Oh,
that's like her job.
Gosh.
And then I was like, what? And then literally in the next minute, she was like smearing jam all over her face. And I was like, oh, there's 4-year-old Nora.
Wow.
You know, so it's just kind of like I try to just keep it rolling.
Yeah. I can't wait to like see how it goes for her.
Yeah.
Like as she enters more into like the preteen, the teen ages and like.
Well, she's a little sassy too. Like I was telling you guys, I just posted a video of her and she talks about her evil plans for the day.
Evil plans for the day.
I was like, hey.
Is that the one that went viral?
Yeah. So I was asking her. It's funny. So I started like filming her like kind of sly. We were laying in bed and she was like laying on my lap. And she's not even noticing that the camera's there. So I'm like, hey, why don't you try to like be nice today? And she's like, I have plans today. I'm like, rude plans? And she's like, evil plans. And then she notices that I'm filming and she's like, what? And I thought it was so funny. And most people who saw it thought it was funny. But I did get a little hate that was like, why are you exploiting your child? Why are you can tell this is rehearsed. And I was like, what?
Yeah. You're going to have haters no matter what you do. And especially when it goes viral.
I'm sure you've been on the receiving end.
Yeah, I tend to actually not really want to post my kids anymore.
Yeah.
Because people, you could have she could have just been smiling and not even saying anything, and people are going to judge you as a mom.
Yeah.
Like,
that is weird.
It is weird. But I'm going to have to go watch this video.
And then
my
little 2-year-old grabbed like a Diet Coke can that had like a teeny bit of Diet Coke at the bottom. And he like drinks it. And I'm like, well, no, what do you have? And he's like, Diet Coke. And like the first comment was like, this is not good for his teeth.
Oh, and you're like, okay, I didn't like put it in his bottle. Come on.
I just wrote back, good thing it's diet. There's no sugar. Like, we're good.
I remember like the first time I got hate about my kids, it was like they could have hated about anything in that scene or what was shared.
Yeah.
But people are coming after me because I gave them white bread.
Oh, wow.
Well,
they were like, I thought you were healthy. I thought you were a nutritionist. Like, I blah, blah. I'm like, I gave them white bread. Like, what is the big deal here?
What? People went wild for the white bread? Wow. Come to my house. My daughter eats quesadillas, French fries, and white bread.
Are they picky eaters?
My daughter is. My son's not. So, and I'm definitely the parent that's like, pick your battles, and forcing my kid to eat something is just, well, A, I can't. I've tried to force her. And B, like, why fight about, like, she'll figure it out. She'll try new things eventually. And if she doesn't, she'll just be that weird kid that's like, can I get a cheese quesadilla at like a nice restaurant?
Yeah, but don't you think that's probably more common to have kids that are a little bit picky?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's uncommon to have a child that will just eat anything. But I have heard from the experts, if you feed them a lot of different flavors when they're young, like when they're babies and they're tasting food.
I did that.
Sometimes it won't work then, I guess. Maybe the experts are wrong.
I think it's more a personality and control thing based on me knowing my kid. Because when she was little, I was like, she'd eat salmon and avocado, and I would like make her try anything. Just curry, because I love like ethnic food and anything. And I think she's just, it's like, she's like, I don't like the color black. You wear way too much black. And when I was leaving the house today, she goes, I really like that sweater with the holes, but you should change into cuter pants. And I was like,
so did you change?
No, these are it. These are the ugly pants.
Oh, I have to meet her.
She's a spit.
Yeah, because the nutrition thing with kids, that stresses me out. Like, I do get stressed that my kids aren't eating healthy enough or like getting the nutrition they need. But again, like you said, like, you have to pick your battles.
No, I'll tell you what, my son lived on chocolate milk for the first 3 years of his life. Like, he wouldn't eat anything. And and he is a big kid, very healthy and super, super smart.
See, we have hope.
The smartest kid in our house, like, smartest kid I know.
Well, milk is loaded with vitamins. And,
my kids will drink.
But then you think of all the hormones in it and all that, like,
and the sugar.
It's too much. You can't stress. Like, if you go down that rabbit hole, and I have done like plenty of research. I've actually taken her to occupational therapy. Like, there are tips and tricks, but also like there's just like personality, and feeding her is just the most important thing.
It's like, I'm keeping her alive and she's safe. And I think that's important.
I do think those are important.
That's the most.
Those are important.
Whitney, do you know what my favorite thing is lately?
What?
Cooking. Can you believe that?
What?
Yeah. You know why? Because I have a meal kit that shows up with fresh ingredients straight to my door and makes it so simple. It's my favorite thing now.
Well, and see, I love cooking. I just feel like I don't ever have time to go to the grocery store to pick out a recipe, but I love cooking so much.
Well, I have a solution. Get HelloFresh and skip that extra trip to the grocery store and the long lines at the checkout. Spend more time doing the things that you love with the delicious chef-crafted recipes delivered right to your doorstep.
No matter your lifestyle or meal preferences, HelloFresh has recipes sure to please everyone at your table. From fit and wholesome to veggie or family-friendly recipes, you'll always find something even the pickiest eaters will enjoy.
You can customize select meals by swapping out proteins or sides, or even adding protein to a veggie dish. And now you can even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef.
I love HelloFresh because I love cooking and I love cooking with my kids, and it saves me so much time, and it makes me feel good to know that my kids are getting a healthy, nutritious, well-balanced meal.
I love HelloFresh because it gives me such a good variety. My husband gets so sick of the same meals all the time, and I don't want to come up with new ideas. So this makes it so easy for me, gives me lots of options. I can interchange things within the meals that make everyone happy. And it makes it so easy.
Go to HelloFresh.com/WildRose65 and use code WildRose65 for 65% off. Plus free shipping.
That's HelloFresh.com/WildRose65 and use code WildRose65 for 65% off plus free shipping.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Hi, Wild Ones. After months of waiting, the Real Housewives of New Jersey is finally back in our lives.
if you're like me and just can't get enough of Real Housewives of New Jersey, then you have to check out season 2 of Melissa Gorga's podcast, On Display.
This season, she is taking it to the next level with even more juicy conversations with her celebrity friends, including her hilarious husband, Joe Gorga.
Plus, she is talking all things entrepreneurship, family, parenthood, pop culture, and of course, she is spilling all of the tea on everything going on in her world.
It's her life, completely unfiltered. So make sure to check out the On Display podcast with Melissa Gorga wherever you get your podcasts. How is your son? Is he a good eater? He's 2?
Anything.
Anything?
Yeah. But if she says I don't like it, then he's like, I don't like it.
Oh, uh-oh.
So we do have, I actually feed them separately now at different times. Otherwise he will only do, like, he just loves her. So
Yeah.
That's so cute.
That relationship, because my oldest is a girl.
Oh, yeah.
Hers is the opposite. Boy, girl. I'm girl, boy. And it is really cute to watch the dynamics. Like, the sister runs the house.
Oh, yeah.
But
even the
Jennifer
little
does, too.
sister.
Even the
Yeah.
little
In fact,
sister.
everyone, my kids are 21 and 19, and everyone thinks that my 19-year-old is the oldest. Like, she does run the house. And she's very, like, has a very old soul, very mature for her age. In fact, I think it's made it hard for her to kind of fit in with her peers, like, because she feels like she's kind of, like, dumbing it down to say, like, just to, like, fit in. But then she's like, oh, it's Friday night. I'm just going to stay home. And she's gorgeous, fun. Like,
I hope my daughter
she's
does
like,
that.
I'm just going to chill. You guys are exhausting.
I'm worried that my daughter is going to be the one that's, like, giving me problems.
She might.
Bobby's really sweet and really smart, and we are really close.
Yeah.
But she just has this little, I can't put my finger on it. It's like a little secretive side.
Well, are you like that?
No, but my husband is.
Oh.
But I do think that there's something to say about, like, if you guys remember back when you were, like, preteens and, like, you know, there's a part of you, even if you had a close relationship with your parent, you kind of want your own space for your own things that are just for you.
Do you feel like that's healthy? I feel like that's healthy.
I think that it is to some degree. Like, you'll know when they're keeping secrets, like, that they shouldn't be. Like, you'll find out.
Yeah, well, I think they need to learn how to be free thinkers and figure out things on their own. And yeah, you have to have space. Like, I don't like when people are constantly in my space.
Yeah.
Like, I there are some things that are just for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, as a mom, that's like probably like as they get older and you're like, okay, now I'm going to treat you like an autonomous human who like gets to think for themselves and gets to make decisions. It's like also a little scary because you're like, but make that decision.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But do that.
Yeah.
We want to guide them and teach them how to, like, you know, my biggest thing is I just want them to understand, like, good and bad, no matter what you choose has consequences. So if you know what the consequences are, you have the freedom to make those choices. And we're just starting to head into those years. Like, Bobby just started 7th grade. Ooh. So, but what's funny, I was just talking with Justin last night, like, nighttime routine. Like, I've kind of let that go out the door just because I've been so busy, like, filming. My kids are getting a little bit older. Like,
what do your kids think about filming?
They love and hate it. So Brooks, he hated it for the first couple years, like, despised it. I didn't make him film. I would never make him come in the room if he didn't want to. But now, this last season, he watched himself a few times and he's like, I'm really, he's excited.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
he keeps telling me, he's like, when are we going to start filming? I need to get my hair cut.
Ooh, I like, when are you going to start filming? Are you allowed to say?
No, but it's soon.
Okay. I just sneak in my own question.
Nothing's been officially announced, but yeah, it's rumored to start
the rumors
in February.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to get back to this parenting thing because I'm curious, like, are you two moms that you parent, like, you research and you, like, figure out, like, you're trying to just study how to be a mom, or do you just lead with what you feel, or do you do both?
I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason over here. I mean, I have researched a little bit when it comes to food and like she also has she doesn't like a lot of texture, like clothes and stuff bother her. So I've tried to research just like to help it not be a fight. But other than that, I'm kind of like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, as you go.
Yeah.
I think I was, I follow my intuition, but when it comes to like the health and that kind of stuff, I am hypersensitive to all of that. Like my kids call me overprotective because they can't leave the house until they take their vitamins, like things like that. I am obsessed with. I don't know why, but that is a big thing. My kids' health is really big. But I've learned that even if I follow all the suggestions, experts, what the pediatrician says, it doesn't always work for me. Like it doesn't translate to how
it doesn't always work for your kids either,
exactly.
depending on them and their personalities.
And I want to share a story with you because my son, I thought for sure he had some sensory things, like sensory sensitivities, and he used to like flick his ear.
Okay.
And when he plays with stuff, he grabs it and would flick it.
Okay.
And he runs around with toys. And I like took him to the pediatrician, and I'm like, I want to test him for autism.
Yeah.
And he like every time I'd go and get tested, he's not even on the spectrum at all.
Okay.
And he just has sensory sensitivities. He doesn't like loud noises.
Okay.
Certain textures.
That's so good to know.
And finally, he like pumps his arms, and he's like kind of getting made fun of for it.
Yeah.
And my pediatrician goes, "Have you ever asked him why he does that?" And I'm like, "No." So I finally asked him, and he's imagining that he's dribbling a ball.
Oh.
Like he's playing in his head.
Playing in his head constantly.
Oh, you're like, oh.
Like when he's like running around with his toys, he's like imagining that he's playing a game or he's doing something.
Isn't that so funny? Like that piece of advice. Have you ever asked
I'm
him?
like, no.
You're like, oh, I guess I should just ask.
So simple.
Like, here I am, like thinking that he is on the spectrum of autism, and he really is just that's how he experiences things. It's how he learns. It's a sensory thing.
And what about you? Like your kids are a little bit older. How do you?
Yeah, they're basically, they could be out on their own now and have been, but I felt like mostly I just led with what I felt was right, and I felt like I messed up a lot of things along the way. So it's so nice to have them older and they can now tell me, "Mom, no, I loved my childhood," and I'm like, "Oh, good."
Yeah,
like
because you were
totally
hypercritical of yourself.
Yeah. But the time I did reach out for some help or advice, I looked up some different parenting books. Was when they were teenagers, because teenagers, I was like,
She's
okay,
like, buckle up, guys.
Yeah. Get ready for this. So the two of them that I found one was the gifts of imperfect parenting by Brene Brown. If you guys read any of Brene Brown's stuff, yeah, she has one on parenting, and I was like, okay, I like that because I'm definitely doing it imperfectly. So let's see what these gifts are. And it was a beautiful book, and also Boundaries with Teens because it's by John Townstead. But finding what those boundaries are and just like different ideas on what can work, because I don't know, teenage years are tough. Like you just kind of get into like more real life problems, and especially nowadays with like social media and all these things they're exposed to. So I felt like I needed help with those things, but until then I kind of just flowed with it and just, and then after that, we somehow made it through. They're alive and kicking, so that's good. And they're both smart kids and doing well both in college. So I'm like, okay. All right.
Did you have like a really strong routine with them? Like I've just noticed like my bedtime routine's out the door right now. And I think my kids are suffering from it. Like they're tired and on me in the morning, and I'm not getting alone time.
Right. I think there's something to be said about that. There were times that we had more strict time, like bedtime routines and things like that. I think it's good for both the kids and the parents. But life doesn't always go that way.
Yeah.
As you're finding out.
And Bobby's 12 and she has soccer until 9 at night.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so those routines have to shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just kind of had like a meltdown last night, and I'm like, we have got to get back to a routine, because that was something I read a lot of sleep training books, and my kids slept like in their crib from day one. Yeah. We had really good sleep hygiene, and it's out the door. Yeah.
That makes all the difference, because even just in life outside of kids, like if you're not getting enough sleep, like everything is exponentially harder to deal with. Your emotions, life, even like being a good mom, if you don't get a good night's sleep, it's like you lose your patience. It's just, it's not good.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to pull the reins back in and like reteach that, because I feel like it's just my kids, they need that. I need that, and it's out the door right now. Like I got my kids to bed at midnight last night.
On a school night.
On a school night, and Bobby gets up at
rough.
6:30 for school.
Yeah. Does she get up by herself, or do you have to get her up?
She gets up to an alarm, but I always go in and make sure, because she could sleep through an alarm blasting in her face.
Yeah.
It's 6:30.
Yeah.
We're still like in the little phase, and my kids love sleeping in. I never usually tell people about it, because other moms are like, sorry, what? Like they sleep until like 9:30. Like I could get up and have like a full morning without them. They both just love sleep, which is great.
Yeah.
But if you don't get sleep, it's not good.
So you have like a good nighttime routine?
No. I will say this. If it's just like, if my husband's traveling and it's just me at home, I'm like, okay, bedtime, 7:30 or like 8:30. If he's home, it's like they just want to play with him. And I'm kind of like, well, we're in a phase right now where it's okay because she doesn't have preschool till the afternoon. So I just let him have fun.
What do you think, Connie? Do I need to like be more
Buckle
strict?
down.
Yeah, buckle
Honestly,
down.
I think it helps. I know a lot of parents that they need that time alone without their kids needing something from them. So they're really, really strict. Like I said, I was never that strict, but when I was on those routines, like I felt better. They felt better. Kids kind of need those boundaries, I feel like, to feel like it just, I don't know. I think they just
it's
like
almost
routine.
like they need to know what to expect.
Yeah.
Well, and it's especially, I don't know why junior high is earlier than elementary. Like
They need more sleep.
more
not
sleep.
less.
Yeah, it's a fight every morning, and I'm trying to simplify my life right now. I'm trying to get like everything back. It's been too crazy.
Edit. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're starting with bedtime routine.
Yeah. Just start with one thing.
I know.
That's what I found. Just one thing shift.
Do you know what I like in an ideal world? I'm like, I like to turn on like binaural beats at night and like put it on the speakers and just like dim all the lights just to like get everyone in that mindset of sleep. And I do feel like that kind of helps. Like, you know, all the lights dim, and then it kind of just like signals to everybody that it's gonna be bedtime soon.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I used to do that too, and we still naturally do, like after you clean up dinner or like close down the house. But my kids, it's just been a free for all, so they'll just come down here. Like I went down to our basement this morning, and apparently Brooks got up and went gaming at some point last night.
No.
In the night?
I don't know when, but the TV was on and his Xbox was on, and I'm like, when did you do that? Like
He just snuck down for a little
yes.
sesh.
So
Late night
it's hard
gaming
when they
sesh.
become so independent.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like you want them to be independent, but also it will drive you crazy when they're little. But you know, as an adult, if they're a persistent kid and they're independent, I had to remind myself, I'm going to love, you're going to love this when you're older because you will be successful because of it. But right now, as a parent,
oh my gosh,
you drive me crazy.
if you think about it, it's kind of crazy. Like you have this beautiful baby and you just go home and you're like, now what? Like there's no real manual to like how it's going to work for you, how it's going to work for your kid. It's like, it's kind of actually really funny. It's like a funny joke from God.
Yeah.
Like,
it is funny. They sent me home with my baby. Nora was 4 pounds, 12 ounces. And I was like, am I allowed to be in charge of this little teeny human? I'm like, no one's coming with us. She was just like small for gestational age. But I was just like, wait, I'm in charge.
Like, I'm not a nurse. I don't know what to do.
I know. And even now, sometimes I'll look around. I'm like, am I in charge? Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, not really. I'm like, okay, cool.
She's in charge.
Yeah. She's like,
She keeps you grounded.
Yes. She's like, no, you have zero control. I'm like, I could tell.
What was your, I know we're like getting close on time now, but what is your like biggest, like your favorite thing about being a parent and maybe something that was like your biggest surprise, good or bad. Like you expected it to be one way and it wasn't, or.
I mean, I don't think I expected that I would love it as much as I do. Like I truly, truly like love it. And then you also realize like, how can I get so pissed off by something I love so much?
Yeah.
But that's just like the flip side of life, right? There's always that yin and yang. There's always the balance. There's always like, and you know, you're like, am I really arguing about like who knows what? You're just kind of like, you'll get in those moments and you're so heightened and you're like, okay, this does not matter. And why am I in a power struggle with a 4-year-old? You know? And you're just like, there's got to be a better way. So honestly, I think if you let parenting be a teacher, like it's the best teacher out there. It will refine you. It will bring you to your knees, and it will be, and it has the potential to create like one of the most amazing relationships, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's great.
I love that.
I know.
Thanks.
I'm like, I just want to listen to you talk all day.
I know.
no.
Can we
You
come
guys
on
are
your
so-
podcast?
Yes.
Wait,
Yes.
you do your podcast with Maggie?
Maddie.
Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie.
Maddie.
We are really butchering
yeah,
names.
we are.
Margaret and Maddie.
Margaret and Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie's taking a break right now, but so yeah, I would love you guys to be on my podcast.
Yeah, we love
come
that.
Because
on, yeah.
we're not well. We can
Yeah.
talk about
yeah.
all the unwellness.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You guys are the greatest. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks.
thank
We
you.
covered a lot. It
I
was
know.
like a very full scope kind of.
We need to circle back
Yes.
on our next session together
Okay.
and talk about more time stuff, like universe
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more stories about your kids.
Okay.
Because I
could
love kids that are connected. Like I
Yeah.
really love learning about people's stories,
Yeah.
how they got there. Like, and your kids
Okay, so stay
clearly.
tuned. We're just gonna do like a ... at the end of this
Yes.
episode.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
us.
Yes,
and
thank
let
you.
everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me at currentlyunwell.com. No, just kidding. Well, yeah, you can. And then my Instagram is currently unwell as well. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll include all of that in the description of this episode. But
And get well soon. That's what I always say.
oh, I
Get
love
well
that.
soon.
Get well
Yeah.
soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, again, thank you everyone for listening. If you like our podcast, please share with your friends and family. Thanks again for the beautiful Margot from Currently Unwell.
Maggie, Margaret, Margot.
We respond to anything.
Yes,
around here.
yes, we do. Hey, you.
But in honor of Currently Unwell, stay well
Yeah.
or get well soon.
Get well soon.
Get
Get well
soon.
soon.
Stay well's good too.
Get well soon. And don't forget, be you, stay wild.